I started knowing who these characters are, who's Grover and who's Cookie Monster and who's Elmo. And I then started getting a little scared when it was said that, Elmo is going to come this season and we're going to hold auditions for Elmo. So everyone was like, Elmo, who's going to audition for Elmo?
Welcome back to Puppeteers. I'm your host, Adam Kreutinger. Today I have my co-host back, Cameron Garrity.
Hey, everybody. Good to be here.
Welcome back, Cam.
Thank you.
And today we have a very special guest, all the way from Mumbai, India, Sangya Ojha.
Hello.
welcome.
So, hi, Cam. Hi, Adam.
Hello. Thank you so much for coming. So I just want to read a bit of an introduction for you for people who aren't familiar with your work. So in 1969, when Joan Gans Cooney and the Children's Television Workshop first launched Sesame Street for American audiences, they knew they were creating a new special kind of programming that could positively influence the lives of children throughout our country, not only teaching the alphabet and how to count to 20, but also promoting radical ideas like kindness, tolerance, and equality. Unbeknownst to them, what Cooney and CTW really created was a master template for a robust curriculum that could be shared for the whole world. International co-productions of Sesame Street could be tailor-fitted to meet educational and emotional needs of children in any specific country, often featuring some of the furry friends from our U.S. production. These co-productions meant bringing on local writers, producers, set designers, and of course puppeteers to help make Sesame the longest street in the world. One of the newest co-productions is India's Galli Galli Sim Sim, which debuted in 2006. The show stars many new Muppet characters while also featuring Ernie and Bert, Grover, and of course, Elmo. Our guest today, Sangya Ojha, has been a Muppet performer on Galli Galli Sim Sim since day one, performing the character Anchoo and later Raya and Elmo. So we'll be talking to her today on what it's like creating specialized educational content featuring puppetry, as well as her own performance troupe, the Puppetarians, which travels throughout India with live shows modeling positive life skills for the young and the young at heart. So, Sangya, welcome to Puppeteers.
Thank you. Such a lovely introduction. Thank you, Cam.
Absolutely. So, what have you been up to? What are you working on right now?
So, my work is twofold. One is the television or the video puppetry work. That mainly happens with Galli Galli Sim Sim and other video and TV works that we do here in Mumbai, India. And apart from that, there's live shows and workshops. So as you know, we just finished season 10 of Galli Galli Sim Sim here, which is the
congratulations.
Indian co-production of that's great. Sesame. Thank you. It was wonderful and amazing stuff happened in season 10 and we took it a notch up. But it's all wrapped up now. And now with the Puppetarians, which is my own initiative, me and another puppeteer, Hashim Haider, both of us together have built a show called Nani Ki Kahani. It basically translates to Grandma's Story. And we're in a full body puppet, which is sort of a hybrid puppet, wherein half of the body is the Muppet and my legs become the puppet's legs, something like that, like a walk around puppet is the grandma, Nani, and she tells stories and the stories happen in shadow puppetry projection alongside Nani. So that's a beautiful sort of an intimate sort of a show. Hashim has directed it and I solo perform it. It's for 45 minutes.
Is that a live performance? Is it a live performance or is that? Oh, wow. Wonderful.
And so will you take that to different schools and such, or where do you plan on performing that?
So everywhere, wherever we can find audiences, we go to schools, we go to activity centers, libraries, book clubs, any place that can host some children and has a space for us to tell a story. We are right now touring with it. I think on 1st September is our next show in a state called Maharashtra, which Mumbai also belongs to. We'll go to a city called Aurangabad, which is sort of a small town. And I'm not sure if children there have experienced a live puppet play ever. So we'll be doing there the first time, this sort of a thing. I'm very excited about that. So one is that, and then we'll be doing a lot of workshops there. Apart from that, we're also working on, Hashim and I are working on a new, very exciting television video program with puppets. So right now in the space of building the puppets, and then later on we'll be performing them as well. But I don't think I can tell you a lot about it because it's still in the
development
stage.
Great.
Yes.
So those projects that you're doing, are those all under the umbrella of the Puppetarians?
Yes, yes. So the live shows, workshops, and other television work that we do is under the Puppetarians. Sesame Street or Galli Galli Sim Sim here
Hmm.
is a separate story altogether,
Mhm.
as far as I'm concerned. Hashim is also a puppeteer in Galli Galli Sim Sim, as
Okay.
well as I am. But after that shoot gets over, both of
Hmm.
us become the Puppetarians, and we do all this sort of stuff.
Great. And how long is your production schedule for Sesame Street where you are? Because I know the domestic show films, I think, like 6 weeks out of the year. So what's it like for you guys?
So yeah, it's in a year, it's about 4 to 5 months.
Oh
But
wow.
it's not every year that we shoot. So
Oh,
we did start in 2006 and rolled till 2010. So 4 years at a stretch, and
Okay.
then took a break in 2011 and 12, and then rolled again from 2013 to 17.
when do you usually film? Is that in the fall or?
It's not fixed. Nothing is fixed, as
Hmm.
if we can't say that, these are the shoot months. Every
Right.
year
Okay.
it gets decided that these 4 or 5 months are the ones that we'll be shooting in. So season 10 started from October last year. October 2017 went on till January this year.
Got it. And how many episodes approximately do you produce?
We do about 26
Okay.
episodes every season. But so one episode is not just one story. As you know, Galli Galli Sim Sim is a magazine format
Yep.
program. So we have a Gully segment, which is the street segment.
Hmm.
And then there is an Elmo segment, which is a separate segment. It would be Elmo's World or Elmo with his mom and dad, which we call the I Love Elmo segment.
Mm,
And then there are many other segments. So we shoot all of them separately and then
right,
combine them.
right, right.
So you said you did some special stuff for season 10. What was different in season 10 versus some of the seasons in the past?
Well, season 10 is not still on air, but
Oh,
what I can
okay.
tell you is
You'll have to wait
what
and
I
see,
can
everyone.
tell you, yes, but we are really excited about it, because what I can tell you though is a lot of international female puppet characters came this
Mhm.
season to Gully, and all of them really bonded together well. We had a great story based on a character from Brazil, which
Mhm.
is Belle. It's just sweet pink Muppet, and Lola, which is from Mexico. And Zari also came from Afghanistan, and so there are these different characters, and then our own Chunky, Elmo, everyone
Mhm.
together.
Oh,
So
that's
this was
great.
really special.
Yeah, I know our domestic Sesame Street had a episode like that recently, where a bunch of the international female characters came
Mhm.
came to our show as well, and I think they actually brought in some of the puppeteers from those co-productions to
Oh,
perform too.
lovely.
It was a really beautiful episode.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, something like that. But we did
Yeah,
get the puppeteers from everywhere. So
sure.
we were the team that was performing. So we were cast here for those characters.
Oh,
I
Okay.
was fortunate enough to perform Zari from Afghanistan, Lola
Hmm.
from Mexico, and Belle from Brazil. And
Oh, that's
apart
great.
from playing Elmo that I do.
Right, right, right. Well,
so, so,
wonderful.
so that was a special circumstance that you perform those characters. That's not going to become like a regular thing for those
I'm
characters.
not sure. We've done this for the first season this time in
Mhm.
season 10. So I'm really
Oh, I
not sure what
see.
we're going to do in season
Sure, if
11.
they ever come back
This,
again, it would
yeah,
probably be you, but they're not regular
probably.
characters on the season. I see.
They aren't, even though we were dubbing for them in season 9. So I was actually dubbing for Lola and Belle, but those were library segments. So we weren't shooting them, we were only dubbing them.
Dubbing them.
And this season we did shoot with them. I'm not sure
Okay.
what will happen next, but I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what will happen next season now.
Oh, I'm sure.
Is there still a lot of dubbing that they do and that they plan to do moving forward over the years?
Well, when we started in season 1, we were dubbing a lot. And I remember dubbing Anchoo in various languages. I was dubbing Elmo as well, and many other AM character, Anytime Muppet characters. But over the years, we have lessened that. So this season was a lot of our own content, and a little bit of library segments from US
Yeah.
as well, yes, but not so much as we did in season 1 and 2.
And how many languages are actually featured on Galli Galli Sim Sim? Because we were watching some clips yesterday, and it seemed like there were at least two. But I know some shows like the production in Israel, Shalom Sesame, I think uses 3 or 4 languages. So I wasn't sure how many. What you
Within
guys
one
are
show?
within one show. I believe so. I could be wrong about that, but
That's
anyway,
interesting.
I know there's some.
Because
Yeah, that
Yeah,
use.
because in Gully Gully Sim Sim, we
Mhm.
only speak in Hindi. which is our national language here. But India does have a lot of languages. So we are dubbing Galli Galli Sim Sim in many other languages. I know
Oh, I
when I
see.
travel towards the south of India,
Mhm.
I see kids watching Galli Galli Sim Sim in their own language. So it could be Tamil or Malayali or any other language. I have dubbed a couple of episodes for Elmo in Gujarati, which is spoken in Gujarat, another region here.
Mhm.
So I do know that it's getting dubbed in a lot of languages.
Right,
But
right,
we
right.
mainly perform when we perform in the Gully, we perform in Hindi.
Understood. Great. And so do you do then a lot of live performances with the Muppet characters too? Do you guys go around ever and meet with kids and kind of go into
Right.
the environment?
Sure. Whenever an event is planned, we do go and engage with children and the audiences with these
Mhm.
Muppets. But we didn't do it that much this season. Also, a lot depends on the time. So we have only 4-5 months to shoot and a lot of stuff to shoot, and probably one of the puppeteers may go do an event and come back.
Yeah.
But just depending on what is happening at that time. Now, when we are not shooting, another event may come up, and I may have to go and perform, say Elmo or Raya or some other
Mhm.
character there. So that happens, yes.
Great.
Wow.
Well, do you want to, Adam, go back to the beginning and kind of start getting a little bit, or do you have?
Oh, actually,
other
I do.
questions
I have
about-
just one more question. I'm thinking about it. So I know that you do Elmo there now, and you said you used to start off dubbing Elmo. Is there still anything at all dubbed for Elmo, or is it any content now performed by you when it's in India?
Whenever the Muppet Elmo is there, we are
Mhm.
shooting it here. So I'm
Okay.
performing Elmo.
So
for that
nothing is
content.
dubbed anymore for that character.
But we do have some animation segments with Elmo. So
Oh.
there are various projects here that use the animated Elmo. It's
Mhm.
very cute. It looks a little different than the furry Elmo that we know as a Muppet, but it's really cute animation,
Mhm.
and I do dub for it whenever required. So we were doing this program for MetLife recently, in which Elmo talks about saving and just counting and stuff and saving money,
Mhm.
etc. So I was dubbing for that. But whenever
Okay.
the Muppet comes, then I'm performing.
What is that process for dubbing? Do you have to do much prep for it? Do you have to watch the episode a whole bunch of times and then get the timing out really well, or because
Not
obviously it
now.
won't sync up perfectly? What's that
Yeah.
process like a little bit?
Oh, where we started in season 1, and we were looking at this amazing library content performed by the greats. So Kevin
Mhm.
Clash's performance is there, and I have to dub it. It was really difficult. And then that was in English. And I have to say lines here in Hindi. That
Right.
becomes the language syntax. It's so different. English sentences are shorter, and Hindi is much longer. My name is Sangya. Mera naam Sangya hai. Hindi becomes a bit longer. So I have to say things really fast to fit into an English sentence.
Right.
But yeah, so that was challenging. And but the great things with Muppets is that there's no ooh, ee, ah. So there's just plain flaps.
Right.
So I just have to match the beginning and the end perfectly, and pauses if there's any. But
Mhm.
over the years, it's been 12 years of dubbing, so things have become really fast now. I just
Sure.
look at one chunk and then I'm ready to go.
Oh, nice.
That's
So, like, how
incredible.
long does it take to do like let's say you're doing a 5-minute segment? Like, how long would that take? Is that like a whole couple hours, like an
About
hour or so?
15 minutes.
Oh, really?
Holy
Wow.
cow.
15, 20 minutes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really expedited that now. Wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
that's incredible. We've had to do times where we're working on commercials. We have to redub our own
Oh.
our own work,
Yeah.
and that takes it's just painstaking. So the
It's
fact that you're
hard,
able to
yeah.
get that done in
Yeah.
15, 20 minutes.
What was mind-boggling this season 10 is that I'm Elmo, and then there are two of other my own characters, Lola and Belle, also in the same frame.
Mhm.
So of course I'm going to perform for Elmo, and
Yeah.
then my backups are going to do Lola and Belle. So they have shot for it. Later on, I have to dub them. So I dubbed the segment like twice.
Mhm.
Elmo I have done. First time round, I'm dubbing for Belle. Second time round, the same segment I'm dubbing for Lola. And Belle is very soft, and she talks really, really slow and differently. But while Lola is like really strong, and she's different. So that takes time, switching into voices and then doing these. But yeah, once you develop a technique for it, then that becomes okay.
Mhm.
Wow. All right.
That's
Great.
great.
Now we want to take it back a little bit to you when you were younger and growing up. Can we tell us what it was like growing up in India?
It was wonderful. So yeah, my family is of artists. Everyone does something related to arts. My mother's a teacher, but she's also a wonderful singer. My father is a publisher, but he's also a wonderful writer, poet. My grandfather was one of the most known literary figures in the state where I was at, which was Bihar. Uh, so I was growing up among these wonderful artistic people. And very early on, I think they realized that I have a thing for music and dance. So they sent me to a school nearby, which kind of taught me the Indian classical system of dancing, which is one of the Indian classical dances is Bharatanatyam. So I was doing that from the south of India. And I was also learning Indian classical music. So I was doing all of that, and I grew up with that. So a lot of art around me everywhere, and I was performing from a very young age. So it was wonderful. And the state that I belong to, there is a song for every ritual. If a baby is born, it's a song. If the marriage is happening, there are songs for the marriage. For the most saddest of situations to the most joyous, everything is woven into song and dance and music. So it was wonderful growing up there. And I think whatever I'm doing today is because I was from that place and from that family.
Sure. I mean, it just sounds like something out of the world of puppetry. That, like you said, for every moment that there would be something, there would be a song, there'd be a production of something that's just the art always being around you. That's a really beautiful thing to think about.
Yeah.
So when did puppetry kind of make its way for you? How did that? I mean, we can kind of
let me go back a little bit more. How old were you when you were able to join Sesame Street when it started?
I was 25.
25. So at that point, at 25, what did you think your career would have been before that came up as an option?
Right. So puppetry sort of jumped out at me from somewhere. Of course, that's what I think now, that none of us in India, as children growing up, we never think that we would become puppeteers. I don't think that happens here. If a child is interested in performing arts, one would think of going into dancing or music or even playing an instrument or acting, but never puppetry. No, I don't know why that is. Probably we've had some great puppeteers, but nobody aspires to become a puppeteer, which is quite strange.
Was Sesame Street the American version playing before then, or was there nothing before Galli Galli Sim Sim?
So, well, I didn't see any Galli Galli, and I didn't see any Sesame Street growing up.
Okay.
So, and I haven't met many people who know Sesame Street here, because probably I think we weren't getting Sesame Street here at all. And I do know some people who saw the other Muppet programs, the Muppet Show or Fraggle Rock, but none Sesame Street. No, even I didn't know about Sesame Street. I was going to join it, but I didn't know anything about it. I do remember watching this wonderful program called Chand Sitare, which means the moon and the stars. When I was like 5 or 6, it was performed by a very famous Indian movie star, Kamini Kaushal, here in India. And she was doing these small puppets, those hand puppets, they don't talk, of course, the mouths don't move, but the puppets move and their hands move. And a small miniature set used to be there, and she used to perform all the characters, do all the voices by herself, and she used to direct the show as well. I remember watching that, and I remember thinking that this is definitely different from a He-Man or any other animation that we were getting at that time. I remember watching black and white animation at that time, and they used to air in the morning, Sunday mornings. And I remember watching Chand Sitare and thinking, this is something different. This is something physical and more real. Of course, I didn't know that they were puppets at that time. So we weren't getting any Sesame Street. No, not at all.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I imagine that like a lot of people, in America have grown up with it, and they could have saw that opportunity or not an opportunity so much, but that desire to want to be a puppeteer or work on Sesame Street. And then for you, like you didn't have that growing up, and it just came to you. So you didn't even know what it was you were getting yourself into when you went for the audition, I take it?
Yes. So I was here, I was wanting to be, say, a dancer or a singer and practicing, working towards that. But, here also there's a concept of, in India, it's one thing if you're good at performing something, but you have to study as well and do a graduation or post-graduation in something else so that you have something to fall back on, So I was studying I was studying something that I was interested in. I was studying film and television production. I did my
Okay.
graduation in that, and then post-graduation in the same thing. But I never left performing. So all through this, I, also moved towards acting, did a lot of theater, especially in the state that I'm coming from. There is a wonderful group that was doing musical plays, and which was just my thing. So I started doing that. And during the post-graduation thing, I saw this poster in my college that said, we need artists to audition for children's programming, and if you're good with voices or body movements or music, dance, please come. So I was like, okay, great, this looks great. And me and my friend were there, and we were looking at the poster, and he said, why don't we go and just, he was a great singer, so he said, let's go and audition tomorrow. I said, all right. I just thought that we will get some pocket money or something to see us through the summer, and we'll be back in post-grad again. So I went there the next day, and the friend wasn't there, so he didn't turn up. So I was like, okay, I've been backstabbed, and I need to just turn my back and run from here. What will I do here alone? But before I could turn, there was some girl who got hold of me, and she pushed me into a room saying, are you here for the audition? So go. She didn't even listen to whether I was going to join in or not, and she just pushed me into that room. So I remember barging into that room, and the first thing I saw was a tall, beautiful man, silver, curly hair, long. He was standing there on a sort of a elevated stage sort of a thing, and there are hundreds of people below watching him, and he is doing Machli Jal Ki Rani Hai, Jeevan Uska Pani Hai, a Hindi poem which is very popular among children. And I remember watching him, and I'm like, whoa, what is he doing? Is this some sort of, because he was moving so gracefully, I was like, is this some dance? Is this, what is he? And then the way he's talking, his thumb was moving accordingly, and it was so beautiful. And I was like, now this is not someone from here. He's from outside, but he knows a Hindi popular couplet, and what is he doing? I need to know what is he doing. So that was my first hook. And then I could never leave, because that man was Martin P. Robinson, and I fell in love with him and what he was doing. Oh,
he's an
God,
easy person to fall in love with.
Yes. So all of us are in love with him. He's just amazing. So, and from that moment on, he became my mentor, my guru, because in that sea of people, there must have been hundreds, thousands of people there in that huge banquet hall, and he used to teach one thing every day, a technique every day, and then he used to see us as to how we are getting that, who's the fastest or who's good at this particular technique or whatever, and then he used to retain some of us and let some of us go. It was sort of a reality show, in fact.
Yeah.
Every day, some people will be chosen and some will be let go. So every day I used to just pray that, please, please, please let my name be there. Let Marty say my name so that I'm, selected for this day. So the next day he would teach us focus, how to focus into camera. The other day, lip sync, and so on and so forth. So all these techniques. Every day he would train us, then train and audition. And out of those thousands, his job was to select 4 main casts for the show. And he never told us all this while what was happening. And I think those of us who were crazy enough to not know what we were doing and still be in love with what we were doing were finally retained. I think somewhere in between the audition, I was like, I love this, but why are we doing this? So, and he said, do you know Sesame Street? Do you guys know about Sesame Street or these characters, etc.? Some of us, I remember, had heard, but had not seen much of Sesame Street. I, of course, had no idea. So then I went back and watched those videos. We never had those smartphones at that time, and not too much internet as well. So Marty gave us some tapes to watch. And I remember watching these greats, Jim Henson and Carol Spinney, and these documentaries and behind the scenes of Sesame Street, and thinking, oh my God, this is so inspirational. This is what we were doing all this while. Amazing.
Just for people, in case there's anyone listening who doesn't know, Martin Robinson performs Mr. Snuffleupagus and Telly on Sesame Street, and he's also largely responsible for, as you've described, training and auditioning puppeteers for the international co-productions of Sesame Street.
That's right. I think he was here for a very long time, about a month or so, because this was a long, arduous process of auditioning and finally getting selected. 4 Muppeteers and 4 Wranglers. So I think all this while he must have been thinking, imagine out of all those people, he must have been thinking, this will be good for that character, this person will be good for that character, because he knew what characters were there. And then at the end of everything, we were told that you're going to be Anchoo, you're going to be Chumky, you're going to be Googly. And we were like, ah! And we had not seen the characters, the Muppets till then. We had only seen the sketches.
Okay. Now, had you been working with with any puppets during this training, or was it all like ping pong balls on your hand? Because I know sometimes they start off literally with just that, or do they eventually have like anything Muppets for you guys to practice with?
So we did start with the ping pong balls first, just the hand, and then came the ping pong balls, and then the Muppets. So we did have those practice Muppets, rod puppets, and glove puppets both to practice with and audition with. So that was great. After we were selected and told that these are the characters you guys are going to play, after a week or so, our international producer came and she came with the Muppets, and the box were open and the Muppets were brought out, and I saw Anchoo, and we all of us were crying, and we were like, oh my God.
Sure.
And then I could realize that how easy it becomes for a puppeteer to understand a character, become a character once you see the physical puppet. And that's how, this is our greatest blessing, that we have something physical already there telling us how it should be played. Once you wear a puppet, you know, okay, so the voice that I was thinking, something like this will fit her, and probably not what I was thinking, just like that when I didn't have the puppet. And the mannerisms come naturally. And so my Anchoo was a glove puppet, and I used to wear her, go inside her completely. So this much I would be inside the puppet. I would wear an electronic bra, the monitor here. So I would be strapped with that and a monitor which was connected to the camera just to see what my puppet was doing. And my left hand will become the puppet's left hand, and I would need another puppeteer to do my right hand.
The right hand.
So I had a wonderful wrangler, Garima, who was my right hand all through season 1 to 5 for Anchoo, and we had a great bond. This is so special, just doing this sort of a thing with another puppeteer and creating a character together.
Absolutely.
So after that process, how soon did you guys start production?
Okay, so we started auditioning from September 2005, and we were on the floor shooting season 1 in 2006 February, 7th February 2006.
Oh,
we
wow.
started shooting. And imagine, it's just how many months of auditioning? 5-6 months, right? Training, practicing. And we are all on that floor. Season 1, first shot, cameras on, and I don't know how to keep my puppet straight. So my puppet's going like this, and I'm like, how to keep this thing straight and focus into cam, and then the lip sync, then the character, then the voice, everything has to be bang on. My God, such a challenging thing, and so much of multitasking goes. Looking at the monitor here and being inside the puppet, being totally blind, all of that.
So at all those points, because obviously, you were selected the final 4 out of hundreds, thousands of people. Did you feel it coming naturally to you? Because I know we've known people who have practiced with monitors for years, and they can't quite grasp it. Like it never quite locks in. So I imagine you must have come to it quite naturally. Or what was that learning curve for you like?
I just feel the 8 of us who got selected to perform, and then who were the Wranglers as well. And they were also learning puppeteering because they were also given characters later on as the seasons progressed. But I just believe, and all of us were very different. So to me, what I think is I learned really quickly. And I learned techniques really quickly. And I have a thing for techniques and for that specificity and for the nuances. But it takes time for me to get into the character. So, and some other puppeteer may just take time to learn a technique, but gets the character really fast. But I think it was just the greatness of our teacher, Marty. He just puts everything so clearly, makes you practice till the time you get it right. And he's so relentless with it. If you're making a mistake, he's going to come and tell you. 100 of times he's going to come and tell you. But at the same time, he'll be encouraging and, just pushing you really nicely till you get there. So all of us were, but yeah, it takes time. The monitor thing takes time. The image flips, it reverses when you perform for a camera, and then it's attached to a monitor. So all of that, just rewiring of the brain, that took time. A lot of
Right.
rehearsals. I think by season 2, we were really ready. I see my season 1 and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do?
I'm sure. Well, you watched the first season of our Sesame Street from '69, and that everyone's learning. So that's pretty funny. So so then go ahead.
For season 1, did you have 24 to 25 episodes that season as well, or was it fewer that first season?
No, I think, if I remember correctly, we did have 26 episodes to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes, but those were only Gully segments. So there wasn't any Elmo word of the day or some other, but just the street segments, Gully segments.
Got it.
Wow.
Yeah. So then
a lot of struggle, but great learning. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
we
sure.
did everything in season 1. I was hanging from the tree upside down, performing everything, whatever you can imagine, we did.
Yeah. So after that first season, was your shoulder real sore? Getting used to working those muscles? Because a lot of people don't realize it. Even I remember when I was a kid, even just like raising my hand in class, like I'd be like this, and just I can't even imagine just having. And a puppet is light anyway, but people don't understand how tiring it can get just a little bit of weight for so long.
You were so right. Even if you have nothing on, a puppet or anything, you can't put your hand up for that long. It's torturous. But you know what I feel though is that, yes, of course, when you put the great thing with television puppetry is, of course, you can say that can we shoot till here? Can we take a cut here? So that it doesn't go into that area where your hand is really paining and you're straining, otherwise performance suffers. So you can decide this, but we are now doing live performance is 1.5 hours long, and you have to perform. And I've realized is that, once you put the puppet up, there is a point where it kind of pains you, and then you go above that threshold, and then you get crazy and you perform. You can perform to whatever time.
Yeah, it's funny
and
that
you're having fun. It doesn't pain so much, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Right. If you're familiar with the company that created the puppets for Warhorse, they made this great principles of puppetry where they kind of wrote these different rules, and one of them was the devotional state, which you kind of talked about accepting all the pain that comes with the puppet character, the weird contortions that you have to get into, and letting that pain and that discomfort actually work towards creating your character. And that's, you kind of talked about that already, like the way the different puppets are built, what ways their heads can move, what their arms and hands could do, that all people don't realize how much that can really influence what the character ends up becoming.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite quotes is, if you're comfortable, you're probably doing it wrong.
Right. And so, you guys have named it Puppeteers because puppetry goes with tears a lot. And my family, when they visited the set, they saw the show first on television. Then later on, they visited the sets. And then they saw us in weird positions performing, and then sweating, and then performing, and still saying the wonderful lines. I'm so happy, and it's so great, such a beautiful. And these positive lines, even though the puppeteer self is melting.
Just agony.
And then, and then they were like, my God, what difference down there and up there. So that it goes hand in hand like that. And you're right in saying, different puppets have different challenges. With Anchoo, I was performing with another puppeteer, as I said. She used to be my right hand with live hand glove sort of a puppet. And I remember being inside the puppet, and Anchoo has to move through tables. So she has to go like this. And I, of course, can't see floor. I'm only watching my monitor here inside the puppet. So poor thing. She used to, with her left hand, she used to direct me. And then in that process, she used to get hurt because I would bang myself on one table and she's like, oops, oops, oops. And when Anchoo has to fall, I fall physically. So she falls before me because she's right behind me. She falls and I fall on her. So puppeteers.
It's just what we put up with.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
How much filming do you guys do on location, or is it all built sets?
It's mostly sets. So the street is 360-degree set. It's beautiful. I may have some pictures that I can share with you later, probably.
It'd be great.
So yeah. So that is a set. Gully is a set, and Elmo segments are all set or chroma. Limbo sets, the raised ones. But we did have some segments in a couple of seasons wherein the puppets went on location. So outside in a real life scenario and spoke to children in schools and all of that. We call it MOL, Muppets on Location. So I never went there, but I did hear a lot of challenging stories from there, but a lot of fun. But yeah, India it's really hot and humid, and performing outside with puppets is a
Oh,
challenge.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get that furry body on your arm, and you just as if it wasn't
Yes.
already uncomfortable enough. Now you're,
Yes, right.
sweating, and yeah, it comes a sponge.
Right. Right. So we have these huge, hair dryer sort of a thing.
Mhm.
After every shot, especially with male puppeteers, the wranglers have to dry the mouth inside, otherwise it gets sticky
Yeah.
and sweaty.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
So then, so you're doing Galli Galli Sim Sim for about a year or two, and then, as you've mentioned, Elmo comes along. What was that process like of either auditioning? You've mentioned that you didn't really know, since you hadn't seen Sesame Street. Did you even have a concept of who that character was and the scale of what a huge international character he was?
Okay. So my getting scared, it was reverse mode, because
Okay.
I started with not knowing what Sesame Street was.
Yeah.
And I was ushered into Galli Galli Sim Sim, and I'm not knowing, I was like, yeah, I can do it, and give me the puppet, and I know dance and I know music. And so I created Anchoo like that, in that spirit of fun and joy and not getting scared of anything. But once Marty started showing us those tapes, and we started seeing behind the scenes, I started knowing who these characters are, who's Grover and who's Cookie Monster and who's Elmo. And I then started getting a little scared when it was said that, Elmo is going to come this season, and we're going to hold auditions for Elmo. So everyone was like, Elmo, who's going to audition for Elmo? And people were not interested in auditioning for Elmo because just so huge, and it becomes so huge in your head that, he's one of the most loved characters ever.
At that point, was the auditioning for to actually puppeteer him or to just do the dubbing? Because I think you said you started off dubbing him, right?
No, I didn't dub for Elmo first. I was dubbing for other characters.
Oh, I see.
Other Anytime Muppets. And Elmo, I wasn't dubbing. I didn't start with dubbing. I straight away auditioned. And Noel McNeil had come. Noel from the Bear in the Big Big Blue House. He's so amazing, and he's my teacher for Elmo. So he came and he taught all of us what he thinks is Elmo and how should we. And he's such a easy breezy trainer that he makes everything joyous and happy. And so we all got all right with auditioning for Elmo. All of us, all the puppeteers there, we auditioned, and I finally got through. And one of the most amazing advices he gave me is that I said that I'm getting a little scared whether I have to get the pitch right, and his nuances and his laugh, and all those great things about Elmo. And he said, Sangya, you don't have to copy Kevin's Elmo, and you can just embody the spirit, understand who's Elmo, and probably make it your own. If you have to, think of it as your Elmo being the original Elmo's cousin, Indian cousin, if you have to. So I said, all right. And but I did start with copying Kevin. So I used to keep a monitor close by. I used to watch Kevin do one shot, and then just to keep that continuity of voice, of character, and I used to then perform. So that was my cheat. I used to watch him and I used to perform. So I started like that. Thankfully, I started with Elmo in season 3 in a segment called Elmo's World, which is a green chroma shoot, and later on it's animated. His world is animated. So one of the greatest things was nobody was with Elmo. It was just Elmo, so I was performing solo. I could totally focus on his character rather than having chemistry with other characters or anything else. So nothing external was there. It was all just me. So I could focus really and see Kevin's work and kind of duplicate it in the beginning. But I just noticed that very soon I started getting bored with that. And I knew that I could do a lot more. And then I tried to, kind of take a risk and do whatever was coming naturally to me as Indian Elmo. And I'm happy to say now that, especially since season 7, when we started doing another segment with Elmo called I Love Elmo, which is Elmo Mom and Dad, I kind of have developed an Indian Elmo, a sort of a personality, which is Elmo, but my own as well. and not a replica of the international Elmo. I believe so. I'm so happy to share this with you that I got a mail from Kevin, which was back in season 4 or something, that he wrote that you have got it down as an Elmo puppeteer. And I was like,
That's the person you want to have endorse
Absolutely,
you.
yes. And that was a huge thing for me, huge. So I was like, oh, okay, now I can do something with Elmo.
So did Kevin come with Noel for the audition process? Was it just the two of them?
No, it was just Noel. So I didn't get to spend time with Kevin at all learning that directly. But we did have some email exchanges wherein he just gave me some directives as to how I can work with Elmo. But I was already shooting by then. Noel was the one who trained and selected.
Yeah, well, you're definitely in good hands there either way. So
yes, yes, he's amazing.
That's great. And it's nice to hear that you were able to be comfortable enough to make it your own, because like you said, it is so scary to have the huge character, and for you to be able to kind of get into your own space with it, and really inhabit it as a different thing.
And they'll have different interactions too, like the things that your Elmo is going to have, the type of environments and situations that yours will be in is something that the American Elmo would never see or be a part of. So it's even if it was a little bit different, like you said, the essence is there. That's all that really matters.
Sure. Yeah. And it took me some time though. So first few seasons with Elmo, I was a lot of copy paste of the original Elmo, and I was trying that. But yeah, after a while, the lines that I was getting, and I wanted to say them a particular way, even though I know that I have to keep in mind the lovable, the joyous, that kind of attitude for Elmo and his laugh and everything. So I still do that, but in my own way, and I like it more now. And I'm sure Kevin will be happy too if he starts.
We've been talking a lot about Sesame Street, but we also wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Puppetarians. When did that happen? I think it was 2011. I think I saw in the research. So how did that get started?
We were having a great time performing for Galli Galli Sim Sim, and I never thought that it would ever end, because there it's been on for 40 plus years or something.
Almost 50.
Yeah, next year's 50 years.
I was like, I'm insured for life and nothing's going to happen here. I'm in Galli Galli Sim Sim. It's going to go on. But after season 5, which was 2010, we wrapped up, and we had no idea when was the next season going to start. And we were suddenly out of Gully. And I saw the set, brought down in front of me. I'm like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and what are we going to do now? Because when I got in, I wasn't a puppeteer. I was into performing arts, but I was made a puppeteer. And now I'm not a puppeteer anymore. But no, I am a puppeteer. But I'm without a puppet because my puppets have all gone back because they came from the US. They went back, of course. And, as an actor, it's so great that you have your own body as a tool you can perform. But with puppeteer, if I don't have a puppet, there's no tool that I can perform with, that I can tell that I can say I'm a puppeteer, but what will I perform with? And so I and Hashim Haider, another puppeteer from Galli Galli Sim Sim, he performed Hero in Galli Galli Sim Sim, and he was crazy. He's just amazing. He's one of those puppeteers, I was saying, who don't get the techniques first right, but get the characters right.
Yeah.
And is so risk-taking and so bold with what he performs with. He performed with a character who is like a Bollywood hero. A lot of style and everything. Amazing, crazy. So both of us thought that, okay, we want to puppeteer, but we don't have any puppets. What to do now? We did a lot of recce. We didn't find any Muppet sort of puppet in India because, of course, India has this huge cultural folk history of puppets, but the puppets that you find here are Katputli, the marionette. Katputli is basically wood, and putli is doll. Katputli, wooden doll.
Okay.
So you find a lot of wooden dolls, the Katputlis, marionettes here. You find a lot of shadow puppets here, even Bunraku ones, but no Muppets, because the Muppet culture was brought here by Sesame Street, and we were the only people performing. So who is going to make Muppets for us here? There wasn't anyone, and We tried and nothing was working. So we finally, Adam, thanks to people like you who are making puppet making videos, how to make those puppets, amazing. And thank you so much to you and people like you who have put up such videos, that we saw things on YouTube and we did a lot of trial and error. We're still learning, but we kind of created our own puppets. So once we created a couple of puppets, that hurdle was crossed. We started taking those puppets to different schools, and nobody would take us. Nobody would be interested in getting a performance or anything. So we said, okay, we're going to perform for free. And we did a lot of free performances in the beginning. It also helped us understand, because we were coming from a studio setup for television puppets, and here we were trying to do live shows. So that difference, while performing, we also, understood what we were doing right or wrong. And that's how we kind of grew into a company which now have performed 100 plus shows all across India. Then we started doing workshops for children, teachers, parents, puppetry and puppet making, simple puppet making workshops. And gradually we also started doing television and video work here with the Puppetarians for more mainstream channels. When I say mainstream channels, these are basically general entertainment channels, because entertainment is really big in India. Everyone loves the television, loves the movies. So we started doing small things, small gigs for reality shows. That was also a difficult thing to break into, because in India, this concept is that the puppets are only for children, and adults are not going to watch them.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sure does.
It does? Okay, so I was thinking that was an India-centric thing. No.
No.
It's oh yeah.
Yeah, so we went to different, television channels and met a lot of producers, but everyone was like, no, our shows, whole families watch and they won't be interested in watching puppets. Finally, one producer took a risk with us and said, okay, I'm doing this reality show where children are the contestants. It is a dance-based show. So why don't you guys create 2 characters, and we just try 1 episode and see how that works. So we created 2 characters called Mogambo and Zogambo, father and son, and they go there and disrupt everything on that reality show. So everyone really hates them, the contestants and the judges, and it boomeranged, and everyone liked them. And so season after seasons, episodes after episodes, we did of Mogambo and Zogambo for Dance India Dance. And then, these kind of things started coming to us, small ads and other television works.
It all started.
This is how we started rolling.
Are those the same 2 characters that you use in the Puppetarians as well?
Yes. So for the Puppetarians, for every project, we create new characters and custom-made specific characters. Mogambo, Zogambo, so we only use for that show. And very recently, we did this show called KBC, Kaun Banega Crorepati, which is the Hindi version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And the biggest Indian star, Amitabh Bachchan, hosts it here. So we got the chance to perform about 11 episodes with him. We created 2 characters, which were basically the representatives of the Indian audiences, Devi and Sajjan. And Hashim and I performed him alongside Amitabh Bachchan. And that was like the biggest thing for us, because he's huge here, and that show's most loved. Yeah, we just did this in last year, 2017 end.
Very cool. Yeah, that's incredible.
Actually, I want to go back a little bit to when you started doing the live performances with the Puppetarians, because that's very interesting. It's so, as I'm sure you know, it's so different than performing for a camera. You have that feedback off the audience, especially if you're performing for kids. You have to kind of manage the audience a little bit to a certain extent. Can you talk a little bit about that? What that was? Was there much of a learning curve since you were coming from television puppetry?
Oh yes, sure. So when we are performing for camera, there's no feedback. The only feedback is, of course, what you're watching here and what the director is going to tell you, right?
Right.
But here, there were 2 years, 3 years old children, about 50 or 100 children, and they're all screaming at the top of their voice because they're loving your show, by the way, not because they're distracted, but because they love you. And here we are screaming our lungs out just to make us, audible. Every show was a learning experience, and we were learning about how to use the mic, how to manipulate the script so that, because children are guessing your script beforehand. you're saying something, they're coming up with the answer. So how are you going to react to that? And I personally believe that I grew a lot as a puppeteer when I did the live shows, because also I forgot about the monitor. So we started with placing the monitor and placing a camera at the back because we were so habituated of performing for the camera. But it didn't make sense after a show or two. I just realized I'm not looking at the monitor because a lot is going here and there. So what is the point performing to the camera at the back with children? Because the audiences are right here. So we did away with that. Gradually, we also did away with the masking. For the television, the puppets are always shot waist up.
Right.
And the puppeteer is down. And we started with sort of a masking, sitting behind a table, building a head and sitting behind it. I remember one of the shows that we were doing, a live show for a very big audience we were doing. And we were 10 puppeteers sitting behind this hedge performing. Auditorium full of children and parents. And a song played, and we all had to dance, and a puppeteer must have gotten excited or something, and he kicked the hedge, and the hedge fell flat in front. And all of us puppeteers were like, everyone was revealed, and the audience were like, oh! And then they all started looking at the puppeteer rather than the puppet. That point onwards, Hashim and I were like, okay, so do away with the masking. It's great for audience to see us and see how a puppet is being played, and it brings another layer to the show. Then we started performing. That's how we created Nani Ki Kahani, wherein the puppeteer is right at the back. You can see her, but you choose not to see her because Nani is there and she's telling you a story.
Right.
I think it's so interesting that we talk about whether you were masking yourselves or having yourself seen, and something I've thought a lot about myself too. In the beginning, I always wanted to. You'd think it'd be better to mask it, right? So that people are not distracted by the performers. But actually, I think it's actually more distracting because people are just like wondering like what's going on behind that. And I think by having the puppeteers being seen, they can, they see it and they get over it really quick, and they can really dive into the story without being distracted. So I think that's really cool.
That is so true. And I don't know why we dumb down our audiences also a lot. We're like, children will get distracted. They will think that, the puppets are not real or anything. Children are very smart. And I've seen that after a show, children come and actually without us telling them anything, they come and talk to us the way we are performing. So they're actually learning while you're performing. It brings another dimension to the whole thing. So no masking is great.
So once you've kind of established the Puppetarians, then Galli Galli it came back after a couple of years. Can you talk about then? It seems like at that point you started working on Raya. Is that correct?
Which is right. Yes.
So that character, for those who don't know, or maybe you want to describe, it seems like she had a sort of a built-in curriculum with her to help teach about sanitary conditions and cleanliness. Can you talk about creating that character? Because she seemed to be introduced not only in India but also in the United States and a couple other places all at the same time.
Right. So I was thinking that, okay, Galli Galli Sim Sim is over now, and we have moved on with the Puppetarians, and we're doing this thing. But great things have this tendency of coming back. They never really end. And 2014, I got a call from Sesame India organization, and they said that Sesame New York is coming up with a new character, and India is hosting the World Toilet Summit in 2014 summer, and it's by the Gates Foundation, and Sesame wants to unveil or present Raya to the world in that summit because it goes really well with what she embodies, because Raya embodies cleanliness and hygiene, good habits. She loves to wear her sandals to the washroom. She likes to keep her hands clean, and such a beautiful, beautiful Muppet, turquoise color, beautiful long braids.
Character.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So, so they were like, whether you would like to perform Raya in that summit, and I was like, yeah, why not? And things are starting again. And
twist my arm.
So you moved past the point of having to audition for things now. That's a good point.
Yes. Yeah, right. I'm not sure who Marty must have suggested, or somebody must have said something so that they were like, let
You've
us,
proven yourself
have
by
you
that
do it.
point. Yeah.
so so I went to, and I was already now stationed in Mumbai, because Mumbai is the place where mostly the shoots happen and channels are here. So from Delhi, earlier the shoot used to happen in Delhi, season 1 to 5. I had moved to Mumbai, so I went back to Delhi again to see and perform Raya, and she was so beautiful. There are certain Muppets that you wear them and you don't have to do anything. The Muppets kind of lead you into the performance, and they let you kind of do things, and she's so beautiful like that. I remember seeing her and reading basically the specific directions that were there for her. And I thought of my own lines, and we shared it with the Sesame team, and such a wonderful team had come from New York. I remember those 2 days when we were interacting a lot with the delegates, and then we had a very nice opportunity to perform on stage with Raya, telling everyone what she loves and how she likes to keep herself clean. So a nice, beautiful message in Hindi and in English, and we had some great media coverage during that time for Raya. So it was wonderful. I remember this was for Cleaner, Healthier, and Happier campaign, which Sesame Street was running in Nigeria, Bangladesh, and India. I also remember after this, in 2015, I was sent with Raya to perform in Nigeria for a video that we were shooting, which basically highlighted the work of Sesame Street on girls' education in Nigeria. So I went to Abuja with Raya and also did this video there with the team of Sesame Square in Abuja, Nigeria. I also did Kami for that video. What wonderful times, because this character is actually so wonderful because it comes with that focus of that one particular focus of staying healthy and clean, and how to do that, why she loves doing that. So children had a great rapport with Raya wherever we went during that tour.
That's fantastic. Well, and especially to see, the Muppets have always sort of been such a boys' club. Especially the domestic show has so many male characters, which is fine, but it's been great to see in the last few years, both domestically and internationally, them bring out such strong female characters that the girls could look up to as well. So to see you kind of carry that torch is wonderful. And it must be quite the thing to see Raya and Elmo be able to perform, two characters that you've really kind of helped, shepherd into the Indian show. That must just be a real point of pride for you.
Yes, and a lot of satisfaction, because from creating Anchoo, which never existed, and I had to create her from scratch, that's something else. And then having take on Elmo and looking at what he's already done, and then taking that forward in India, starting with Raya, and then trying in, like, for example, the season, Zari or Lola or Belle, these characters are already there. They're amazing personalities by themselves. And so watching the international performers and then trying to take a bit out of that and then creating my own with these characters, it's so satisfying. It's so wonderful. But I could never imagine holding the puppet in season 1 and not being able to keep it straight, and now doing these 3-4 characters within one show. It's wonderful. And thank you for saying that for female puppeteers also, Cam, because
absolutely.
Because in India, when we started, there were 2 male and 2 female characters. And as we go on, we started with equal number of puppeteers, male and female. So 2 male and 2 female puppeteers. Now we are 3 female puppeteers, 4 female puppeteers, and there are about 10 male puppeteers, 2 main puppeteers, and the rest of them are wranglers cum performers. But we haven't included more female puppeteers, even though female characters are so many. So yeah, that's a point to wonder. And here also for the Puppetarians, when Hashim and I try train and get people to perform, there are more male puppeteers who are coming up to train and perform rather than female. And we should definitely encourage having, everyone come in, male and female puppeteers.
Yeah.
I remember watching these documentaries when we were starting, as I was saying, and I watched, Jim Henson, Frank Oz, and Carol Spinney, and everyone, but I didn't see any documentary on female puppeteers. Have you guys seen any?
Yeah.
I know when Sesame turned 40 here, they put out a DVD set, and there was like 1 or 2 clips of the behind the scenes with Zoe, Abby, and Rosita being performed by Fran and Carmen, and and Leslie. So that was something to see, but there hasn't been that much, and fortunately, it is actually, especially since Fran Brill retired, and they brought on Jennifer Barnhart and some other people to take on her characters. Stephanie DeBruzzo. There's a really strong cohort of female puppeteers now at Sesame Street, and I think they're overdue for a documentary about them.
Oh, for sure.
For sure.
I would love to see one on Fran. I would love to see it. Yeah. Why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Well, and I know, like way back when too, didn't they? It was not uncommon for a female character to be even played by a man, too. Even on Sesame Street. I'm not even talking like Miss Piggy or anything, but even on Sesame Street. So yeah, I think that's changed a lot for the better. It's great.
But I'm okay about that because this is one of the things that we have with not being actors. I mean, not performing as actors and performing as puppeteers, because it's puppets. They are seen. It's okay if a male or female performs for that character. If it's fun and if it's looking good, then why not? But yeah, just to think of the number of female characters and the number of male characters, and then the numbers of puppeteers, it should match.
Absolutely.
I got another little side question. Probably should ask this first. Galli Galli Sim Sim. What does that mean? It's not a direct translation to Sesame Street, is it?
No. So Gully means street, and here in India, you must have heard that story of Ali Baba. Ali Baba goes to the cave and says, "Open sesame." Yep. So in India, open sesame is Khulja Sim Sim. So we took Khulja Sim Sim, Sim Sim we took, and then street Gully we took. So Galli Galli Sim Sim. It just sounds rhythmical and beautiful.
It's very
and sesame,
lyrical.
open sesame.
It is.
Sim Sim.
That's great.
It's beautiful. We love that name. Children love Galli Galli Sim Sim here. Wherever we have gone, whether for Sesame Street or with the Puppetarians, wherever we go and say that, have you guys seen Galli Galli Sim Sim? Everyone is like, Kuch to mast baat hai is jagah ki. They know the song.
The theme song.
And everybody just loves to sing it. Yeah, it's been there for 12 years.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
So kids have really grown up on it by this point. You've had people who were probably one or two when it came on, and they're grown up now.
And even just looking back, to when you were in that audition, and then looking now, seeing kids. I imagine there's kids with wearing merchandise, sneakers with pictures of Anchoo on it and things like that. Like, what is that like?
I feel old. Yeah, we were recently performing in South India, and after the show, a girl came and said, I've grown up on Sesame and on Galli Galli Sim Sim, and I just suddenly felt so old. I'm like, how old are you? So but that aside, it's great, it's lovely. I could never imagine that I would be on this wonderful journey. I had imagined something else for myself. I was doing media studies and I was thinking I would be behind the camera directing or doing something. But here Marty just picked me and put me in front of the camera, and he's given me this wonderful art. And even though it's strange because India has this amazing history of puppetry, it's in the folk culture here. Wherever you go, if ever you guys come to India, you go to a monument or to a tourist place, you will see the marionettes, Kathputlis everywhere, and the shadow puppets. They are here. They've been here for very long, but I never did imagine that I would be performing. One of those puppeteers I would be, and Marty did this to us, and he taught us this, and he said before leaving that, don't you guys ever leave it. Whatever happens, keep going and keep doing it. This is one of the reasons that even when the shoot wasn't happening, we just tried to stay on with it, and it's given us so much. I'm not sure any other career would have given me so much satisfaction.
Is that shadow puppetry and the marionettes ever incorporated into Galli Galli Sim Sim?
Not in Galli Galli Sim Sim, no.
But you do a lot of that with the Puppetarians,
yes.
Right?
So yes, so we did take that learning from there, and I remember somebody, Hashim or someone, suggesting to the writers there that why not? It's a Muppet show, so why not involve Indian puppetry here? I remember doing a Kachi Godi. Kachi Godi is a traditional dance form here, wherein the dancer wears a wooden horse. So the actor's body is jutting out and the horse is seen at the front and at the back, like sort of a mask, wooden mask. So I remember doing that as Anchoo and Chumki. They were doing Kachi Godi in one of the segments, season 1. But yeah, so with the Puppetarians, we tried to incorporate shadow puppets, and we tried to incorporate some bunraku, and now exploring a little bit life-size hybrid puppet Nani.
Yeah.
So all these experiments we can do with the Puppetarians and have fun doing it.
Oh, that's great.
What? How did you come up with that name, Puppetarians?
So this was Hashim's idea, and he said, "Well, it means something else there, right? What does a Puppetarian mean in the U.S.?"
I don't think it's not really a word. It just reminds me of vegetarian, which is people who mainly eat vegetables. And made me think that maybe you eat puppets, right?
It's puppets. No, yes. So that's what Hashim said. That it's not a word yet. So we can give it a meaning. We can coin it. And he was like, a Puppetarian is someone who lives in the world of puppets. Like, for example, I'm an Indian.
Like
I stay in India.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
Right. An Indian. Like, you guys need to say something in Hindi.
Oh.
What would you like to say?
How about we love puppets?
Mujhe.
Moshe?
Puppets.
Is it Mojhe?
Mujhe.
Mojhe?
Puppets.
Puppets?
Puppets?
Pasand.
Pasand?
Pasand?
Hai.
Hey.
Heh.
Mujhe.
Mojhe? Puppets?
Moshe? Puppets?
Puppets. Pasand.
Pasand?
Pasan? Hey.
Well done.
I really had to write it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So you've already given us some really fun stories, but as we're starting to wrap up a little bit here, do you have any other like kind of crazy puppeteer stories of when things on set? I'm sure you've got a million of them, but any funny stories you want to share about when things just didn't go quite right?
Yes, Cam. Those I have a lot.
Please.
And
Oh, we all do.
Love to hear them.
I'll just tell you the most puppeteer story. So we were in season 2 and I was performing with Anchoo, but we weren't performing in the same set, in the same studio, because our studio was busy doing something else. I had to shoot one link with Anchoo.
Okay.
And season 2, we go to some other studio, and I don't know what was wrong there or something. So I wore my electronic bra. I got my monitor here. I plugged it into the camera, and my wrangler gave me the puppet. So I went inside the puppet. The moment I went inside, they must have switched on something, the camera or something, and I was electrocuted.
Oh, my God.
Yes, this current ran through me, and I opened my mouth, but I could say nothing. No words came out, of course, because I was like, ugh. But I was inside the puppet, so nobody could see my face.
Oh, my God.
I don't know who, the great soul, somebody must have seen that something is wrong with this girl. She doesn't puppeteer this way. He must have switched off the main plug or something. So he disconnected the main source, and I fell and I passed out. And I don't remember anything after that. I remember then waking up into the hospital. All the production is around me, and they're like, "You're alive! Thank God you're alive!"
Oh my
And I was like,
goodness.
"Yeah." But thank God nothing happened, and I was under observation for 2 days. Nothing happened.
Holy
But till this
cow.
date, all the puppeteers, all my colleagues, everyone says that Sangya gave an electrifying performance in action. So they like to make fun of that. But that was really puppeteered, wasn't it?
Oh, I
yeah,
believe it.
I'm
Oh, my
sure.
gosh. Holy
That's
cow.
oh my goodness.
Did they ever find out what caused that?
Yeah, that's
Because
what I was
I
wondering.
can imagine maybe you were a little afraid to get back into that costume next time.
You won't believe, till this date, I go onto the floor and I ask every day. It's the same day, same place we shoot again and again, but I go there and ask, is the earthing okay? I go to the engineer and I ask if everything, the BNC is fine and everything. And for some time, I used to make my wrangler wear the electronic bra and try first. Sorry, but I'm just a chicken like that. Like, you try first.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
That story was shocking.
Yeah. That reminds me, there's a story of Carol Spinney. That Big Bird's foot caught on fire at one point, and he just remembers seeing, he's performing and he's in the, the feathery suit, and he just sees the orange flames coming up his pant leg, and he said, thank goodness he was wearing like thick thick boots, or else his whole leg would have
Oh.
just been
Oh my
but
gosh.
it's craziness.
Oh,
But yeah, those
yeah.
those puppeteers
Oh
with their
gosh.
electronic bras and
Right.
when
So we
you
have
got
this
those
thing.
monitors.
Right. And I'm sure the wrangler must have been crazy looking at the suit on fire because
Yeah.
I remember all of us puppeteers here have a story like this.
Uh-huh.
And the wranglers are always after the puppet. I don't know why. They don't hold the puppeteer first. They're like, give me that puppet. You're going to fall down. I have to take care of the puppet. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Wow.
that's great.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We'll hopefully
Yeah.
have you back on again in the future. Is there anything else you'd like to just say to people who may be listening?
Well,
Maybe
Yeah,
whether it's people in India or people in America or anywhere in the world.
Some words of advice for people who are looking up and just trying to make it in this crazy puppet world.
well, what can I say? I'm still learning and I'm trying to do something new every day. But I can say this much for sure is that what helps in puppetry is staying a learner and trying to learn something new every day and just keeping your mind open. Having a career in arts, especially with puppetry, is not easy. But we didn't come here because it was easy. We are here because we love it, and this is the only way we know how to live, right? So just stay positive and just try and learn every day something new. This puppetry is so amazing. Every day is new, and it's not for the people who like routine, right? So it's a lot of fun. So have fun. When we have fun, the audiences have fun. Everybody is happy.
Great.
Yeah.
So, and how can
Absolutely.
people follow you? Do you want to plug some of your social media links?
Yeah, thank you. So we are found by the name The Puppetarians on Facebook. And please watch our YouTube channel because we are trying to do a lot of crazy stuff there. A little different from our usual Galli Galli Sim Sim stuff. We are trying to do some adult content for, with puppets. We are found by the name Puppetarians on our YouTube world. And we are our website is www.thepuppeterians.com. So you can follow us there.
Great. Well, thanks again for coming on. Again, we'll hope to have you again in the future. And yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you
anytime
so
you want to
much
come
again.
on.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next
Namaste.
time on Puppet Tears.
That's right.
Namaste.
Namaste.